every time she plays that, I'm reminded that the Lord's Prayer was when the disciples asked Jesus how to pray, how shall we pray? And that it wasn't an asking, it was a statement of faith. They were saying that you won't lead us into temptation. You will provide our daily bread. It was a statement of what they were to remind themselves of every day. And a lot of times, when people use the word prayer, they're thinking of begging or asking for. But if you listen to what the words of the Lord's Prayer were, they were saying, these are the things that we are uniting in our knowledge of God as being true. And I think that's a really good thing if you think of it as, we all have our daily things that we do. And we make things to fit ourselves. But we also all have back in our minds the words and origin of that prayer. And it's a good, comprehensive, round way of thinking of some of the assurances that we don't have to worry about. We will get our daily bread. We won't be led into temptation. We may see temptation out there, but we're not going to be led into it. If we follow that God within, we're going to be led into good and more good, not temptation, not problems, not strife. Now, I think everybody knows the background of today's lesson topic, got stress. We have all those little commercials about got milk. Well, I'm lactose intolerant, so I never got milk. But there's an interesting passage, I think it's in Hebrews, I'm not sure, where the writer is saying, you all should be drinking milk. You're too young. You don't understand. You're babies in this season. You're not ready for solid food. You're only at the level of drinking milk because you have to get fed at the level of where you are. Now, when you grow up and you can handle solid food, you'll get that. But right now, don't worry about that part. You just drink your milk. Of course, it doesn't say it that way. The Bible has much flowery language. But I found that interesting because I had never thought of that as being something from the Bible. So, got milk, then it's talking about, do you have the knowledge that you need where you are now? You may not be getting your solid food, or you might be on a soup diet. You might have a little bit of solid food up in there. But you get that daily bread. You get that sustenance where you are now. Now, stress is one of those things that we all hear about, and it's been so much in the vernacular that everybody's familiar with the concept. I heard a child about 5 years old tell their parents, "You're stressing me out." A 5-year-old? But the kid understood when we say stress, what we're talking about. And I imagine that being a 5-year-old in these days could be kind of stressful. They've got little toys that are computers, so they're already dealing with the whole digital thing and the play dates and things that they have to live up to and all of that. So for them, that might be stress. They have no concept of what we mean when we say that. But at their level, their milk, that's stressful for them, worrying about, does so-and-so want to play with me or not? Now, one of the things that I think is interesting was the quote in your bulletin, I think it's Wayne Dyer that was talking about, there is no stress in the world. Stress is a mental construct. There's no such thing as stress. It's an idea we have in our head. Now, we can think back, let's say 100 years, when your main stress was if the crop was going to come in, if the roof was going to leak, if you had milk, because your cow had to be healthy. Could you feed your cow? That was stressful because you only had the one cow. You only have this one plot of land, and if it didn't produce, you were in trouble. So that was another kind of stress, but give us this day our daily bread. We're talking about the nurturing that includes the physical and the mental and the emotional. All of that so that we can comprehend the spiritual. Because let's face it, it's difficult to think of spiritual things when you're in pain and you're hungry. So we have to remember that all of these foods are important. Now, one of the articles I was reading recently, because when I get a topic, everything in the world comes to me on that topic. So, of course, I got a magazine with an article about cortisol and all the hormones that come up when you're in stress. And it was talking about the fact that even if you have a perfect diet and you sleep perfectly, if you are stressed, you're not going to get the benefit of all that. And that makes sense. If you're agitated, you're not able to focus in the same way. But one of the things that I thought was interesting about cortisol is that it's kind of like a vicious circle. Cortisol, which is obviously a stress hormone, makes you gain weight, particularly in your belly area. And belly fat has 4 times the receptors for cortisol than the rest of your fat. So it's like making a home for itself. Stress is finding a way to let you have more stress. What you have will be abundant, and those who don't have, that'll be taken away. So our bodies change with what we decide to do with them. So if we decide that gardening is fun, we may get excited to do it, but it's not stress. But if we decide, I got to get this garden right, and get stressed over it, then that's what we get. Our body responds in a stressful way. The same thing with the other stress hormones. They tell you all these different things that you need to work on. Get your breathing right, get your diet, make sure you get your sleep, drink your water, and all of those things are true. These are things that we know we need to do for our bodies anyway. But the thing about stress, which I thought was really fascinating, is that, of course, they're always doing studies. They did a study of, I think it was 30,000 people, and interviewed them about, what they felt about stress, how much stress was going on in their life, and how did they handle it. And then they followed them for several years, about 10 years, I think, and counted the mortality rate. 43% of those who felt they had a stressful life died in that time period. 43% more than the baseline. So looking at that, you might think, well, stress is the killer. They tell us that all the time. But they went back and looked at the data a little bit closer, and they found that the 43% who experienced issues, death is an issue, those were the people who believed that stress were harmful. Those people who found that stress was just something in their life, that it wasn't a dangerous thing, had no increase in mortality. So it was the idea that stress is harmful that was killed, not the stress. It was the idea, the judgment that they put on it, the place that it was in their life. Those who found the very same things in their life as, oh, gee, this is an experience. No problem. But those who said, this is stressful, this is a problem, I got to deal with this, that's what made the cardiac arrest, and strokes, and all that other kind of nonsense. Now, the interesting thing about this is that the same things that happen when you feel stressed, your heart stops pounding, you might start sweating, you might feel a little agitated, your eyes open wider, are the same things that happen when you feel joy internally. Your eyes get wider, your heart rate speeds up, but your blood vessels don't constrict. They remain relaxed. Even though you're getting more blood flow, they don't have to contract. They can relax into it. And they're thinking that that's part of why joy or acceptance of these changes and stressors are part of why it's not physically harmful. All of us have heard about the way we protect children these days from germs, and they can't get this and don't be around that. Or I've got allergies, I got to stay away from this. And they found that by letting them be around germs, around allergens, getting just a little bit of peanuts when they're young keeps them from having that strong allergic negative reaction later. They build up antibodies. They build up that resistance to that thing that would be a physiological stressor, and they don't experience that. So a little bit of that thing that we fear, if we involve ourselves consciously with it, it takes the drama away. It takes the sense of something is wrong away. And that's all stress is. Stress is when we look at the things that are happening in our life and we fight it. We say, I don't want this. This is wrong. This is bad. And that's what creates the stress. Now, I'm not saying everything is fun. I didn't use that word. But it's not wrong. We don't make ourselves wrong. If I forget something, I forgot it. I was supposed to put the sign-up sheet for lunch out last week. I didn't do it. I forgot. Mistake. Can't go back and fix it. If I stand up here and stress about it, who is that helping? We're still going to have a great lunch, because you all remember. Yeah. But stressing doesn't do any good. Even if there was nothing back there, for me to be stressed about it does not feed anybody. Now, if I look at something and I don't like it, I don't like that outcome, I learn from it. Next month, I'm not going to forget to put it out. Next time, I won't step off, like in Groundhog Day, into that hole of ice. Next time, I won't respond to that action with a negative response. Next time, I won't do whatever it is that I have decided was stressful. That's the point of stress in our lives. It's just information. We don't have to make it that we are wrong or someone else is wrong or that this is a burden. When your eyes get wider, that's to help you see and take in what's going on in a situation. When your blood is pumping, that's so that you have the energy and oxygen to deal with whatever's going to come. That's your body helping you prepare to deal with life. It's not anxiety. It's not a problem. It's not a weakness. It is your body saying, hey, let's deal with it. I'm here. We're ready. We can handle this. Now, one of the other hormones that we hear about a lot is oxytocin. Am I saying it right? Oxytocin. It's the one that they call the cuddle hormone. It's released when mothers nurse their babies. And it's one of those things that makes us want to be around other people. It's one of those things that makes us crave the touch of people that we love. It's what's released when we hug. That's one reason hugging is healing. Because that releases that hormone. And that hormone is shown to be heart protective in stressful times. So your body is made to naturally reach out to others to help heal itself. The act of reaching for someone, sharing the fact that you are feeling stress. You're hardwired to do that. That's one reason we like to find someone and be able to communicate with them. To share, not necessarily put our stuff on them, but if we find someone that we can feel supported, that's a healing thing. Now, it could even be a journey. It could be a practice of walking in nature. But when you're feeling that something is stressing you out, take the time for self-care. Take the time to get to a place where you can release that sense and realize you're already equipped to deal with whatever's going to come into your life. And you're handling it. It's happening. You don't have to work for it. It's a natural thing. Now, one of the things that we forget when we talk about the cuddle hormone is that it is a stress hormone. It is naturally released when these things come up. And that's why in the people who had no response to stress, their cardiovascular system was peaceful. It was repaired because this oxytocin was naturally released to adapt to that, so that the next time they felt stress, they were even more able to handle it. So just like when the children are exposed to just a little bit of germs or just a little bit of the allergen, and they get stronger and better for it. Same thing with stress. We get better, we get stronger. We're made that way. We are made to experience events so that we can grow from them, so that we can make them something of that knowledge that has made us us. Because we're all just an amalgam of our experiences and our thoughts about them. If you think about it, I mean, we all have basically the same chemical makeup. Our consciousness is the sum of our experiences and our response to them. The interesting thing, or another interesting thing, is that another study, of course, they studied another group who had stress and found that the ones who spent time helping others had the same result. No negative from stress at all. It wasn't that they had less stress, but they actually had better health than those who had no stress at all. So having more stress was not the issue. It was taking time to help others. And a lot of times, dealing with stress works when you do that, in that you're not thinking about yourself anymore. You're thinking about, what can I do for these people who've come into my life? That's why we're here. We're here to help each other. We're here to support us all as we reveal that inner splendor, those glorious possibilities that live within all of us. Most of the time we think of that in terms of youth, working with youth, and their future and all of that, but we're not done, folks. We all have glory within us. We all have untold possibilities within us. And we can surprise ourselves when we let that flow. That stress is a good thing. Stress is really just saying you're engaged with life. That's what we're here for. And when we choose to engage in life by sharing all the good that we know with others, that good grows because we know more. We can do more. We can be more. So I say to you, congratulations on stress, because you know that stress simply means you're alive, that you can do. It would not come to you if you could not handle it. It's not on the level of God only gives you what you can bear. No, it's a celebration. It's you revealing what's in you. You don't know until you get in these situations what you can do, what's in you to do. So a lot of times, stress is an opportunity. It's a chance to let your light shine. It's a chance for you to see who you are. So I say, let's all celebrate stress. See it as the opportunity that it is. Welcome the chance to grow and change, and know that there's nothing to worry about. God got you. Peace and blessings.